The backstory on this involves wannabe Democratic politicians. It involves the environment. It involves a company called Aspiration. Aspiration is a company that is under, let's say it nicely, that one of the co-founders has been indicted and has pled guilty to fraud. This is one of those companies that says they're going to change the world one tree at a time, and what they're really doing is taking your money. And one of the big investors in this company is Steve Ballmer. Yes, the sixth richest man in the world, the owner of the Clippers. And this company, Aspiration, signed out of nowhere a endorsement deal with Kawhi Leonard. Strange, you'd say. Well, they got some cool endorsements from Leonardo DiCaprio, the outstanding private jet flying, smoking, awesome actor who wants to make sure the environment gets saved, one vape at a time. Robert Downey Jr., do love his movies. Bunch of great, Cindy Crawford, her daughter Kaya Gerber, not Kaya's boyfriend, Bill Pullman's son Lewis, but a panoply of celebrity endorsers to talk about how great it is to save the environment and to find a company that will make your whole life carbon neutral. The Boston Red Sox bought in, saying, let's do business with this company, Aspiration, and let's make Fenway Park carbon neutral. Yippee-ki-yay. I explained on the show that I made Marlins Park LEED certified gold, first ever retractable roof facility. It's just money. That's all. There's no environment saving. There's no making the stadium to have a negative footprint, or your life, quite frankly. But plant some trees and it's a good start. Except Aspiration, unclear whether they ever planted any trees. It sort of became this moral center for companies like Facebook, for people like Steve Ballmer and his new stadium, the Intuit Dome in LA, where the Clippers play. Let's try to make everyone feel good about themselves and know that we're doing our share. Funny, but it's always about the money. Somehow Pablo Torre found out about a $28 million endorsement deal that was signed between Kawhi Leonard and Aspiration. $7 million a year to endorse Aspiration, and he didn't do a damn thing. Not an appearance, not a retweet, not a like, not a commercial, not a thing. Why in the heck would Aspiration pay $28 million to Kawhi Leonard? Oh, it appears that Steve Ballmer gave him the $28 million to Aspiration. Aspiration passed it right on to Kawhi Leonard. That, my friends, is called circumvention of the salary cap. So this morning, the NBA will wake up having completed an investigation when Kawhi Leonard was signed by the Clippers, because owners already said, wow, this is sort of like Ohtani to the Angels. This is, I don't mean to throw shrapnel at you, Artie, but man, when I was in baseball and that deal happened, there were 29 teams who were positive that deal was done. 4869. Like when Sasaki signed with the Dodgers. Oh, I don't mean to throw shrapnel at you, Stan. You know that. Love you guys over there. But man, there were 29 owners who thought that that was a fait accompli. When Kawhi Leonard signed with the Clippers, the surprise, baby, what a big surprise it was. Re-up, signs an extension. As you recall, he's currently under contract. The NBA investigated and said, all good here, but if any new news comes to light, we will reopen the investigation. And this is that smoking gun. This is that new information. Adam Silver has opened his eyes this morning, as we are live early in the morning, because PTFO released at 5 a.m. Eastern time, or 6 a.m. Eastern time, but I think it was closer to 5. And now the NBA will have to react. Much like the NFL Players Association reacted after the episode dropped with Pablo about collusion and the grievance that was kept from the players. Adam Silver will now have to reopen the investigation into the signing of Kawhi Leonard. And it will be very difficult, if not impossible, for the NBA not to come to a conclusion that there's something amiss in the state of California. If I'm an owner in the NBA or a team president or a team GM and I wake up and I see this story, 80 minutes in, I'm thinking to myself, I cannot believe that I have to compete with the sixth richest person in the world and not play by the same set of rules and standards. That's really the issue to think about, is that when you're dealing with, so imagine in baseball, Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, the richest owner in baseball. Imagine there were certain rules that exist that stop a team from paying more than a certain amount for a player, like a draft pick. Like, let's say the Mets drafted a player and that player has to sign at a certain number and that number is available to anyone else in the draft. That player chooses the Mets. And for whatever reason, it's found out years later that Steve Cohen did something for that player that no other team could do. And that player agreed to sign with the Mets for that reason. In a non-salary cap sport, it wouldn't happen with free agents. It would happen where there is competition. Though, in baseball, we spend days, hours, weeks, and months investigating teams to make sure that they are being forthcoming about their revenue. And we've talked about that on a recent Nothing Personal. You can't pretend you're making $20 million from a naming rights deal if you're making $50 million. There are checks and balances and investigations. You can't lie. If you're found out to have lied, you will get taxed back at the level of what that revenue actually was versus what you reported it to be. But in a sport where there's a salary cap, it makes it critical that everybody plays by the same rules, and the rules are simple. There is an amount of money you are allowed to compensate players, and you may not go a dollar more than that amount. Hard stop. You can't do it what's called in kind. In kind would be Steve Ballmer giving up shares of Microsoft to Kawhi Leonard under the table, giving him a private plane for his use, giving him a house that he could buy at below market value in LA, giving him a car, getting him an extra $7 million a year. Steve Ballmer got Kawhi Leonard an extra $7 million a year for 4 years to endorse a product that he never endorsed, to endorse a company called Aspiration that he never endorsed. He merely collected the money. And this all came to light because Steve Ballmer, one of the top investment minds of our lifetime, in the same conversation as Warren Buffett, invested in this company that was a pile of paper, no substance whatsoever. And Steve Ballmer got fooled into investing, and somehow that company decided Kawhi Leonard was the perfect spokesperson. Kawhi Leonard, the perfect spokesperson for an environmentally friendly company. The whole thing reeks of salary cap circumvention. The whole thing will require a full, as a matter of fact, Coca, not part of the show that we recorded with Pablo, because this is part of Nothing Personal. I'm going to give you an official wait to see. There will be a new investigation by the NBA into the salary cap circumvention that is alleged in the new Pablo Torre finds out. There will be at least fines levied. There will be a suspension. Go back and look what happened to Glenn Taylor when draft picks were taken away, when there was a thought of circumvention that was proven with a player named Joe Smith. Glenn Taylor and the Timberwolves lost picks. They lost money. And they lost Joe Smith. The NBA could choose to void Kawhi Leonard's contract and make him a free agent again. That would be the extreme punishment. They could take away draft picks of the Clippers. They could fine Ballmer, but you know very well the $500 fines to players for uniform problems isn't a big deal when they pay up front with cash and wear the uniform however they want. in a collectively bargained amount that is able to be fined. There is no collectively bargained limit for what the NBA could fine Steve Ballmer. What exactly would be a fine that would hurt Steve Ballmer, who's worth $152 million? You fine him $1 billion? Excuse me, Coca? Did I say 152 million? Steve Ballmer is not worth 152 million. $152 billion. What do you find a man who's worth $152 billion to the point where it hurts? There is no number. Therefore, you take away something that he likes more than money. You take away the ability to build a winner, which he's had a hard time doing in any case. But when you take away draft picks, you take away the ability to build through the draft, to use the draft picks as trade capital. You are getting the man where it hurts way more than finding him 250 grand or $25 million even. Do the math. 25 million on a person who's worth 150 billion. Hold on, let me check my pocket. That's the fine for salary cap circumvention? No chance, toilet pants. They're going to go a different direction when the NBA investigates this. You wait to see. The new investigation by the NBA will be opened. There will be at least fines.